Okay, welcome everybody to the April meeting of the HART Board. If we could please rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first order of business is approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to accept? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, carries. And the first thing we do on our agenda is do public comment. Do we have anyone from the audience that have signed up to give public comment? Yes, sir, you're recognized. If you could please state your name. And
Yes. My name is Henry Marr, a Heartline employee, 27 years. I live in the county. I signed up, I believe, on your list. I represent the union, ATU 5093, which represents all the bargaining employees. I had a few issues as well as some current things that came out, I guess, in the newspaper and so on and so forth. And one thing I'm going to mention is the unfair labor practice, which I know board members cannot comment on, but we need to get it done because it's a thing that's been troubling a lot of the employees and all. So I'll just leave that there because I know you can't comment on it. Morale, well, that's part of it, as well as overworked and the turnovers. And I know that you go through some length trying to hire people and what have you, but we've had tremendous turnovers in the past few years compared to all the other years I've been there. And it's causing a strain on the employees, especially when you require them to work. And once you require them to work, they are burnt up, tired, and what have you, and then they start calling in because they just can't do what they're supposed to do. And I understand that you understand we have an attendance problem. We've always had one, but it's basically when you start overworking people, that's what happens. The van matters, I was here for the last board meeting. I know you're going to probably comment on some of those issues. I'll just state what I know about some of the situations that I've been almost forced to work on the vans, and I'm a bus driver, and when I was originally hired, I hired for the streetcar, which goes way back 20-some years. But when I've signed up for extra work, I've been almost forced out there to work, to drive a van. I say, I don't understand, I can't operate the list because I wasn't trained for that. So if you want to send me out there, you can be liable for it or whatever, and they decide, well, no, we're not going to send you out there to do it. And so if you have some comments about some people are probably out there not trained or not doing what they're supposed to do, and not properly trained, and that is it. I didn't sign up for that duty. The Tribune article, a lot of what I read was in there, and a lot of the times the cameras will catch what they say we're doing or not doing or what have you. And there is an issue with the cameras. Some of the buses, they don't work, and that needs to be a priority. Of any of them that don't work need to be fixed because we are self-insured, and they protect the agency as well as they protect the employees because of what he said, she said, and what have you. And all, because I know, for instance, there was a case where I know the camera protected me because I had a person get on the bus and I started off driving and they fell flat on the floor. And what it was, they had a medical issue because most people when they fall, they grab. This lady she had a medical issue, and when the EMS came and they all recognized it and what have you. So that covered me, and plus the camera would have covered me to the fact too that she didn't fall like a normal person would fall. Frequency of buses. When you take buses off of routes, as they've done on, for instance, on route number 34, Hillsborough Avenue, where it used to run like every 20 minutes and you go back to 30 minutes or something to that effect, you have buses that constantly run late. And I've driven it. And also I saw an article where you make changes to routes. I see very few changes on routes that do frequently run late. For instance, number 57 that was mentioned at the very beginning of the article, which goes right by my house, and I've driven it personally myself. And there are certain times that you cannot get that bus on time, and maybe like we used to do, we used to plug in buses to fill in the gaps. You have buses that return from other things and they can go out and fill the gaps and that, but in the evening time on certain routes, I don't care what kind of schedule you have, what kind of frequency you have, on certain routes, you're not going to make time and they're always going to be late.
Oh, okay,
So,
thank you. Your 3 minutes is up. Thank you so much for your comments. Is there any other member of the public who has anything relating to our agenda today? There'll be more public comment available at the end of the meeting. Okay, seeing none, we have a first item on the agenda is a proclamation establishing the Stand Up for Transportation Day. Ms. Egan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of the board. The first item for your consideration today is directly behind the agenda in your packet. It is a HART proclamation honoring Stand Up for Transportation Day. This is a nationwide focus on federal investment when our federal tax dollars come back to our communities and what that enables us to do. Here in Hillsborough County, the federal dollars definitely pay for most of our vehicles. They've enabled us to have the facilities we have. Almost every facility was built with federal assistance. It's also the source of funding for our CNG program. It's also the source for our the guidance for our environmental program, which once we have that completed, I'll do an update on that later, will be one of the few agencies in the country operating the top environmental standards. Federal funding also makes possible the training partnerships we have with CDC in East Tampa, and this generates a bunch of mechanics and mechanic apprentices for us as well. So with your approval, we will issue a proclamation just honoring Stand Up for Transportation Day, which is this Thursday, April 9th.
Move approval.
Okay, is there any discussion on this action item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We have a very light agenda today because we are doing a workshop afterwards. So we'll go right into the chair's report. I was notified as I walked in that I would be assuming the gavel today. So I do not have anything to report, but I know Commissioner Suarez, will be back hopefully next month in this place. So we'll go right in now to the Chief Executive Officer report. Ms. Egan.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. And Councilman Suarez had contacted me in GC earlier this morning, noting that he's not able to attend for dealing with a family issue, and he would like the reason for his absence read into the minutes. So we will see him later, certainly. Just a few items to update on. First, I think all of us are aware of the Go Hillsborough meetings that have been happening throughout Hillsborough County. It's been a very interesting opportunity for us to get comment from folks who don't normally take buses. And there's a lot of concern for folks getting express service and looking for service to the airport. There was a teletown hall last Thursday, and those are the main issues that we heard. The second round of meetings, the Coming to Making Choices, kicks off today. The first meeting is in South County, and I will be there. HART staff has had 3 folks at all of our meetings, so rotating through gives our staff an opportunity, a broad group of us, to hear the different concerns. Based on the feedback from this, we will be coming to you and using this to be the foundation of next year's TDP. So the comment from this cycle will resolve in about June or July, and this will give us the groundwork that we will use to go into a more comprehensive overview for a TDP going into 2017, which sounds forever from now. We simply won't have the opportunity to do a good job based on this feedback in time for the budget cycle that we're talking to you about today. So part of our workshop will be laying the groundwork to be flexible so we can use this comment and move into some innovative directions and meet the needs of our county. The first week I was up in Washington, D.C., meeting with the various members of our delegation, talking to them about how important the alternative fuels credit has been for us here at HART, and also discussing the things which we are doing, the efficiencies we've been looking at, and just holding us as an example of an agency that is making good use of the taxpayer money we're trusted with, and also putting out there for any innovative programs that are coming down, consider us for an opportunity to look at some different ways that from transit to point of sale, anything which we could participate in, gives us an opportunity to try a new program and gives our friends in DC and DOT an opportunity to have another success with us. We also went to Tallahassee. I spoke in front of the Senate's Transportation and Economic Development Committee the second week of March. The budget which came out last week did not have any funding listed for the fare box. This is conference week, so later today I'm on a call with one of our state senators to talk to them about where we are in this process. We'll regroup from that and come back for more conversation. Obviously, this is conference week. The Major Projects and Legislative Committee meets in 2 weeks. That is after conference, but it is an opportunity to start talking about lessons learned and make sure that we're much more effective for next year. We also have been partners, as you're aware, the ferry grant for here in Hillsborough County came through an FTA grant that passes through HART over to Hillsborough County, and we've kicked off a more robust partnership with the FTA. The FTA sees HART as the grantee, and we are responsible for making sure that this grant is exercised and the terms are met. That is our expectation. So we've moved into a stronger partnership role, and this month the environmental work should start on the county fair project. We're working with county staff very closely on this. We have a couple updates which will be coming out this week at the FGA committee 3 weeks ago. Director Shanahan had requested an update on maintenance drivers over the past 3 years. We're finalizing that. We'll have that out this week. We also had a request from Director Jarosh of a list of all our properties. We have that pulled together but not formatted. That will be coming out this week as well. And Mr. Marr noted some stories which had run in the paper. Yesterday, the Trib ran a story on customer complaints here at HART. And the beginning of the article did hit some of our high points. Last year, we booked 2,700 complaints on over 15 million trips. Last year, we did about 50,000 trips a day, and that worked out to 7 complaints out of 50,000. So that's where we're starting. Of course, we would like to hear no complaints, but 7 out of 50,000 puts us in a stronger position. We do investigate the complaints. We use a foundation on these complaints for looking forward into our training. About 80% of our on-time performance complaints turn out to not be substantiated. The route is off detour, the person is not at the stop when they say they're going to be. But regardless, if the patron is perceiving that service is late, there's still somewhere we can go on that. And to that end, we had put together a few months ago and are going out for a solicitation in the next few weeks to kick off a customer satisfaction program. So going beyond just folks calling in, doing focus groups with our passengers, getting their feedback on what is important to them, and using that as a benchmark of moving forward. Again, I can say all day long we have 7 complaints out of 50,000. That doesn't mean that we're delivering a service that folks like so much that only 7 times out of the day do we hear about it. And we need to be doing a better job of anchoring in. Also, as Mr. Marr noted, we are victims of our own success. We've had ridership grow 20% in the past 5 years, and our service on the streets expanded by 5%. We can't keep up with the demand which is out there, and we'd like to use a customer satisfaction program as a way to make sure that where we're investing these scarce resources are where folks need them and where folks want them. You'll also see when Jeff does the TDP update, we're very aware of the scarce resources, and we're looking into more of our pilot programs to try to figure out are there more dynamic ways we can meet the need, focusing our buses where we need them to focus. You also received Friday an update from the ladies who came to our board meeting last month with their concerns with van service. We had transmitted an update about a week after that, and we have done a little bit more research and just wanted to provide an update. The service which the ladies are receiving is at their door on time anywhere from 70 to 80% of the time to pick them up. More importantly, we looked at their drop-off. Out of 55 drop-offs in February, one of the ladies was late for 1 appointment. However, again, if they don't feel this is a reliable service, we clearly need to do a better job. So summarizing, we are meeting with Sunshine Line staff later this week on Friday. We have met with the MPO staff already to identify some opportunities to do better service. And one of our top technology and procurement projects this year is to get to our interactive voice response, where we're calling folks and telling them, hey, we'll be at your house in about 10 minutes. And my mouth is getting dry, so that indicates I'm talking too long. And I will wrap it up there.
Ms. Shanahan, you had a question, comment?
It's a lot going on. On the Go Hillsborough, if there's any way, I was very surprised at how many people were on that phone-in call. That's a lot of people, and I thought it was tremendous. It's going to be discouraging to them if it's 2 years before they see anything functionally accommodating any of the issues raised. And I think if there's any way, I don't know, I would encourage you, I know you have a cycle of budgeting and processing, but you've also got a lot of people that are giving input, that if there's any way to acknowledge some of that input in some categorical of your budget, I think it would be important. Otherwise you're going to just, otherwise we will lose, sort of integrity and I think responsibility. This is supposed to be about them giving input, and not that you're going to accommodate everything in the first year. We can't accommodate that, but I think acknowledging it as part of the budget would be important. The other thing is, it doesn't sound like if you're going into halfway through session and there's no money in either budget, that there's going to be any money in either budget. So how does that affect? If you get zero allocation for the fare box, what happens with that?
Thank you for the question. We started off the process this year for fare box anticipating that we would not have assistance from the state or from another funding source. And this is also a year where we are doing more with the procurement process, getting the groundwork laid for the technology. The bigger expense will be fiscal year after this and the year after that when we're actually acquiring the fare boxes. Okay. So we do have an opportunity to circle back and look at more funding sources, but the lack of assistance will not, at this point, impede the project at all.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Merman?
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, are we getting weekly updates from our lobbyists?
Yes, ma'am, and they are usually transmitted out to the board Friday. The weekly update from the advocacy group came in yesterday, and if Lena has not sent that out, you will see that by this morning.
Okay, because they don't go into conference until they work out the differences.
Okay.
In their allocations. There's a $4 billion or $5 billion difference right now. Till they get that worked out, usually they do not appoint the conference committee people, or so don't anticipate any decisions this week unless there's breaking news and they've cut a deal, which I don't anticipate that happening either. And I think most people are talking about extended session or a special session on the Medicaid issue, which is really a determining factor, the one that sets up the domino effect of how everything works out. And the other thing is, yes, I have been going to quite a few meetings on Go Hillsborough. I can't believe the people in the town hall. I agree. And Shannon, I mean, they had 6,000 the first one, and yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. So what I am thinking, because I look at the budget and we really haven't had any changes really in 3 or 4 years. I mean, there's been any influx of capital or revenue. This is going to have to be a collaborative effort on what we do about revenue to help HART. And I think it's great for us to sit here and talk about it, but we're dealing with what we have, and it's been the same every single year. I think it's time we have to face reality. Y'all need to get involved with Go Hillsborough. You need to get involved in the discussions about HART. I have heard loud and clear people are not happy with the bus service. They want more frequency. They want more routes, loud and clear, from the sessions I've attended to in my district, which is South County and Town and Country, which is where our weakest areas are for service. So I think that we're going to get into the funding discussion. What's happening now is they're now narrowing down. That funnel is coming to the tip, and I think at the end of May they're going to be ready to roll out the exact results of everything. The funding choices will be the last part of it, and what I would like to see the PLG do is actually spend almost a whole meeting talking about HART funding, because I think this is critical as we move forward, and people need more choices and they need options to get out of their cars. So that's my synopsis, and hope y'all will get more involved with Go Hillsborough in the discussion.
And hopefully later today in our workshop, we can, start scratching the surface on some of those concerns, since we will be bringing up the budget. Okay, anybody else have a comment to Ms. Egan? I did have a question. I know Nebraska Avenue was one of the, if it's the same article, it was one of the routes that was mentioned. Early on when Metro Rapid came into service, we saw a spike in customer complaints because the people who were used to catching a bus at every stop didn't realize that Metro Rapid, the green buses, don't stop at every stop. Have we addressed that, or are we still seeing complaints due to that, or?
Now that the service has been out there, we receive fewer complaints about that. We do still receive some legacy complaints. Route 2 on Nebraska previously ran 15 minutes to every local stop, and we still do have some folks who call in and ask for that. The bigger thing we'll get is more folks saying, please run Metro Rapid later, please run it earlier, and it's a weekday only service, so if you're out there on a Saturday, you will see folks waiting because the expectation is that bus should be there. So that's what we hear more about.
Okay. Very good. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go into our general counsel's report.
Good morning. Further, in honor of brevity, we have postponed the ad hoc committee discussions for a future meeting. We will also have a subsequent discussion on the ethics policies, but not today. Each of you should have received the draft ethics policy by email. You will receive further input from me, questions, pointing out some issues that I need you to think about, and we'll deal with that at a future meeting as well. Today, however, I do need you to take some action because we are looking at revising certain board policies that are principally administrative, acknowledging the fact we have additional county commission members who are going to be appointed, changing our indexing policies, et cetera. You will get the exact wording as we go through and revise it, but in order to start the process, this board must initiate it. That's your policy 320.01. So I would like to have a motion from somebody. The summary of the issues are on page 3.1. You'll see that it's policy 100, which is HART organization, policy 200, public access and information, and policy 600s, which are operational policies. So I need someone to make a motion to initiate the review and revision of those policies so that we can move forward with that.
Okay, any discussion on that? If none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's my report.
Okay, very good. All right. We do have the committee reports in the back, so please avail yourself to those. We're back now to public input, and we have several people signed up to talk today. First on the list, well, I believe Henry had already spoken. Did you want to speak again? Henry Marr? Mr. Marr?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, well, you had signed up for the public comment, and I
I
didn't
thought that
know
was the
if
first part
you
that I
had
spoke
given
on
your
already.
comment.
And I pretty much covered everything
Okay.
that I had to say. pretty much.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just want to give you that opportunity. Next on the list is James Saunders.
Good morning.
Good morning.
James Saunders, President, ATU 1593. Just to reiterate what Mr. Marr had mentioned, pretty much true, but the board here had mentioned the need for more service, and the drivers are getting just worn out. Something has to be done. You know, ridership has grown tremendously, but we haven't kept up. So when the drivers do get worn out, get tired, it somehow or another ends up with discipline, and that's not the way to handle the situation that we're facing. I would like to invite each board member to, at their leisure, at their time, to just come by 21st, talk to the drivers, and just see, you know, you make the decisions here, but the people that's being affected are, you know, out there working every day trying to provide the service. So, you know, if you can, you know, find out the results of the decisions you made here and what's going on. So hopefully we can get through this. Me and Ms. Egan, we're going to continue communicating and hopefully get this stuff settled and get it right. So everyone will be happy. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Egan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. With this, Mr. Saunders as well, with this week's update, the CEO Weekly will transmit an update on our steps we're taking to bulk up our training and hiring program. We have had some capacity constraints by having 2 trainers. So our HR team, with our director, Ms. Shinevert, and working with Michael Stevens, have been coming up with ideas to get some additional resources in so we can get more classes and catch up. And we'll get that update out at the end of the week.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Wayne Ransom. Mr. Ransom, are you here? Next on the list, we have Caitlin Johnson from the Times. Is this the right? This is the public comment. Oh, yes. Did you sign up for public comment? Okay, it must have been the wrong list. Amy Blada? I think what happened is this ended up being the regular sign-in public rather than the public comment. Let me just, Lori Sellers, I'm just going to read off the names. If you want to come forward and speak, you're more than welcome to. And then last on my list here is Gary Cloud. Mr. Cloud, welcome.
Good morning, board members. My name is Gary Cloyd, 1402 East Chilcoot here in Tampa. Hearing what the bus company is going through as far as the last 7 years being a rider, I want to point out a couple of things. I'm not going to comment on this article that was printed yesterday, but I will tell you this. One of the major hurdles that this administration will probably face is what the drivers have to do normally is the number 6, for example, that goes from UATC to downtown. That bus turns into the number 8 that goes out to the Brandon Mall. Therein lies an issue that's probably been on the surface for a while and can't be addressed because of manpower issues. If you look at that route between the 6 and 8, over a period of time, that driver is probably subject to fatigue. So the board's biggest challenge with funding and everything else is to get enough qualified drivers on individual routes and go through a bidding process based on seniority. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your comments. Okay, old business. I don't believe we have any old business. Any new business the board member wants to bring up? Ms. Shanahan?
I don't know if we're going to cover this as we go into the budget, but I think that there's, and people could direct me where to read, but the whole merger conversations, with the current structure in Tallahassee right now, we don't have a very favorable committee chair to go through. Let's just say that. So, and I don't know if there's a way to move him with the PTSA and the HART. Him, Jack Latvala. And, it's just the reality. I don't like to talk about things in vaguaries. I'm sort of like, if we need money and if we have a plan and everything's leading us down this path, that we either need additional capacity, we need additional resources, and, we sort of have a block gate right now at the legislative level. And I don't know if we're going to go. The only other option is to go back to the voters. So I just don't know if is that something we could talk about here? Or is that something that I should go read about, or is there facts, or what's the history, and
Well,
is that a county decision or a board decision, or?
Ms. Shanahan,
okay.
Thanks.
Ms.
Commissioner
Shanahan, excuse me, I'm suffering from cold allergies or something this morning. I had a meeting with Senator Latvala last week, who was up there for MPOAC, and the meeting went very well until we got to the PSA, whatever they are, PTSA, and the HART. And he was very adamant about his feelings of combining them both. He also was adamant about some feelings of some people on this board. But in that conversation with him, I told him I thought it was best that he have a conversation with our executive director to understand what PSTA and HART are doing collaboratively. And that conference call will take place this morning. He agreed to have that conference call this morning, and he basically subjected to who he would like to have that conversation with. One of the main things we're going to talk about again is what we're doing together, and the fact of the matter is still not too late to try to get money in the budget for the fair box. So he's willing to talk to us. That's a good start. And before he wasn't really willing to talk to us, but right now he is. So that conversation will take place this morning. Now, how well that will go, I don't know. I'm hoping that it will go well. Miss Egan will do most of the conversation this morning with him, but I'll be there with her in that room because he asked me to be there. So we will have that conversation this morning, see how it goes.
Thank you for doing that, because as a former colleague of his, he has high regard for his former colleagues.
Commissioner Merman, did you have comments?
I had a lengthy meeting with him when we were up there for Hillsborough Days 2 weeks ago, and echoed the same things. I mean, he's, when he gets dug in, he's, dug in. And Catherine and I spoke this morning. I think a good route to take is today in the phone call, and I suggested to her, is that she and Brad meet with him when he's back here again. I do think this board needs to look at the merger report. We do have new members. We need to look at that again and review it. Couple steps, and then, I think just mention how important the fare box is to the region. He's very regional. He wants to do regional projects, but he wants to do things that benefit Pinellas County right now. He's very focused on that. That's why I was wondering if we're getting legislative reports from Justin Day, and what kind of conversations he's been having with him also. So, because I think this is important, but you also got to remember, you got to have a partner on the House side. And it's Ingram. I want to say Chris Ingram, but I know it's not Chris Ingram, Chad, I think. And he is very excited. He wants to help everybody, but Richard Corcoran's calling shots. And I talked to Richard about this, getting money for HART. It's just, DOT, Mike Merrill and I have had discussions with DOT to get money for HART. So there's a lot of discussions out there, but we got to get somebody that really is going to agree to help us. And right now, DOT they're worried about Washington and getting the $3 billion they need just to complete their work program right now. So they're not willing to take on anything extra, but we'll explore it after they get this situation straightened out. They'd like to help on BRT. Expressway Authority would like to help on BRT, possibly. There's just many options we have, but we can't just sit here and wait for it to come to us. We have to get up out of our chairs, go talk to these people, and have the conversations like Commissioner Miller did. We're going to go up again when conference does start to see if we can make a difference in what we're getting out of the budget. So I think today I would just keep it very positive. You are doing things, I know that, but the only thing he wants to hear is merge. That's the only thing he wants to hear. And what are you doing to move towards that? That's the sense I'm getting. So, good luck.
Yes, Director Melendez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having been here during the two cycles or the two iterations of looking at a merger, I just wanted to kind of provide some qualitative background to some of our newer board members. I definitely agree it would behoove all of us for the new members to review those prior documents, the studies, because there were actually two efforts over a 2-year period that we did. And what's at least encouraging to me is it was, what resulted from those two efforts. It was the process that drove the decisions. It wasn't politics. It wasn't, at least from in my humble opinion. So I just wanted to offer a little bit of background for consideration. And I definitely, I think it would, I think there are key documents that will provide you with factual information on why the decision was made twice, not to merge. So I hope that we can, have a positive discussion with Senator Latvala. But I just wanted to offer at least that encouraging background that it was, it was a fact-based mission. So thank you.
Right, very good. We did have two, he's referring to the two legislative reports that were done in the prior years, and the decision was made at the time that there wasn't the time to do any merger. I would like to know, because I don't think it's really a two-county solution. I think we're working regional with all our partners. I know we have, I believe we have the same, if not more, cross ridership with Pasco County up to the north. Are our regional partners, do we know, have they been part of the discussion, Pasco, Manatee?
They have, and when we visited with our delegation, we made sure we spoke with our members. So, for instance, I'm going to get this wrong, I would say Representative Corcoran has part of Pasco County, so we stressed the regional connection there. And your point is absolutely right. Our MPO data, travel data, and what we see, Pasco into Hillsborough is a much stronger pattern than between Hillsborough and Pinellas. It's just folks are coming into work. That's a very strong pattern. That's why we've been out with our meetings on the 51 to see where we can extend out there. And we're working with DOT to get more vans to have flex out in that area that can get up into Pasco. So we have taken a regional approach and met with everybody who touches within the delegation, and we do stress that Fairbox is an 8-county project hitting 2 DOT districts, and that's very unusual to have something in 2 districts. The Miami area is looking at the same thing, going with a similar fare technology. They are behind us. So this is an example of how our finance, our CFO's work can lead to something which is, cutting edge for the state. And in fact, I want to say the first week of June, he's going to the National Smart Card Alliance to speak about this project. The approach is not just a big deal here in transit, but nationwide, it's a big deal, and we do stress that when we go up there.
Perhaps, and maybe you've already done this, but maybe we could reach out to maybe your counterparts and some of the other agencies to see if they're having those conversations too, because I think that would be helpful to know, because this truly is an 8-county effort, and it's not just our 2 counties that are working on this.
It's not, but Hillsborough and Pinellas, by default, we end up in the lead because we are, both our agencies are standalone special tax districts. So our friends in Pasco are subsumed in a county, and when they are talking in Tallahassee, what's good for Pasco Transit is what's good for the whole county. So instead of them having a dedicated presence or conversation, it's where it falls within the county. Same thing with Sarasota, Manatee, Hernando. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that we're leading such a big regional projects. Our friends in Hernando have 8 buses. And when your service is that small, they just aren't registering to make this kind of technology and investment. But we understand that success for the region means that we're going to do some more of the lifting and share our knowledge and expertise. So our partners do make that information available. They do carry that message up, but we're just in a much stronger position to, this is it for us. This is our big, big deal. So it's easier for us to speak with that voice.
Okay, very good. Any other comments, questions, new business? If not, we will, any objection to adjourning? We will be adjourned, and we will be immediately convening for our workshop. Okay, so 5-minute break, and then we'll start the workshop.